How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Donald Trump signing into law the Ashanti Alert Act. This act creates an Amber Alert style system for adults between the ages of 18 and 64. You have already the Amber Alert system for children under the ages of 18. You also have the Silver Alert system for senior citizens above 64. Now we have the Ashanti Alert Act. And if you don't know how the Amber Alert, Silver Alert, etc. works, basically, if someone is in danger, if they're being kidnapped, taken against their will, whatever the case may be, you get an alert that goes to your phone as an emergency that says, hey, look out for this colored car, this license plate, this person's description, this colored hair, this age. So in case you see him in the gas station, on the road, whatever the case may be, you're able to call the police and get them safely returned back home. Now, to back up a little bit to explain how this law came to be, why it's named the Ashanti Alert Act, and any other details, let me start from the very top. In September 2017, a 19-year-old college student named Ashanti Billy came from Maryland to Virginia to go to school. I'm not quite sure where she attended college, but that's why she was here. In her off time, she worked at a Blimpies on a naval base. It wasn't a big base over in Ocean View. It was a JEB Little Creek, the smaller base that works with the other base. While she was at that particular Blimpies sandwich shop, there was a guy there that was kind of harassing her, saying inappropriate things that may kind of disturb you, but not really. He was a person that you gotta kind of watch. Kind of find out later he was mentally ill and unfit to stand trial. We'll get to that in a moment. And he had been in the Navy for 21 years, but had got discharged, retired, whatever it was, and was homeless. He was living on and off base. So he was there every day, probably because he was homeless. He also helped in the construction of their actual Blimpies, so you probably had been seeing her from the very beginning. But let's keep going. So he sees her all the time. He's harassing her. One day, she comes up missing. People don't know where she is. They don't know what's going on. So now there's a big search. Now, I've been following the story since the beginning because I was in Virginia at the time. That's where I grew up. Norfolk is right there in the hub of Hampton Roads. That's where I grew up. I lived in Portsmouth, Chesapeake. All of that's right there. I know people that work on base and that work with the base. So this kind of hits close to home. I never met Miss Billy, but I know people that know her. I know people that know her parents. But moving right along, the story goes on. I'm watching it play out on the news, local news, and they eventually narrow it down to that guy that had been harassing her because people had been noticing that in the shop, how he was. They eventually find her behind a church in Charlotte, North Carolina, which was 300 yards away from where the guy in the sandwich shop had his childhood home. And that's where he attended Sunday school as a child as well. So we're talking about a deranged person. Before he fled Virginia and went to North Carolina, he took her car and threw away her phone. They were able to search through his phone records and see that he was not on the internet at all the day she went missing, which was like, I think, September the 18th, 2017. But the next day, he was online all the time searching for Norfolk man, person of interest, Norfolk man kidnaps girl, police looking for Norfolk man, that kind of stuff. So this guy knew that he was being looked at as a suspect. He knew that he would be in trouble. He, in my opinion, was not of a feeble mind. Unfortunately, after they caught him, they arrested him for killing Miss Billy. He was deemed unfit for trial. Now, I'm not sure if that's been updated or what, but that is the last I read about his particular situation. Hopefully he gets a death penalty for what he did for kidnapping a 19-year-old innocent girl from her job, but I'll leave that there. People in Norfolk, people that I know, a lot of my friends, shout out to Kim, Michael Muhammad, Jafari, Clue, people I know, people I don't know, were raising a lot of noise about this whole case to get something done, to first find her, because that was the whole point of the Ashanti Alert Act. People didn't know where she was. That was the main thing. people were trying to figure out, okay, did she run away? Did she go back to Maryland? What's going on? We had no idea. He took her car. If we had the Ashanti Alert Act back then, or an equivalent to it, it would have been easy to send out an alert that says, okay, her car is missing. It has these license plates. Look out for it. She didn't really go that far with him to Charlotte. That's probably about 5 to 7 hours from Norfolk. It ain't that far. So maybe she could have been saved if this act were there to begin with, which is why it has bipartisan support. And nobody's really making the big fuss about having this. It makes sense. It started first in Virginia with people like my friend Kim Wimbish, who went out there, raised a lot of noise about it. It caught the attention of Scott Taylor, the Republican House rep in Virginia Beach. He brought it to the media, to Congress. It eventually got to Dick Blumenthal up there in Connecticut, a Democrat, and he introduced the Ashanti Alert Act to Congress. It passed bipartisan, and Trump signed off on it. I'm glad that the bill has been signed into law. It shouldn't be any kind of partisan thing, and it wasn't. We need this right now. People get kidnapped. People don't know where they are. There's always a mad dash trying to find somebody. This was overdue, in my humble opinion. It's unfortunate that Miss Billie had to die, but she did not die in vain. So that is pretty much all I got. Before I close out, I want to say that there was not much media coverage about this. I don't really know why. I think from the beginning, it wasn't really a national story, probably because it was black on black violence. Okay. And also, it just didn't really, for some reason, it didn't really hit. I don't even want to go down that road, really. I just want to say rest in peace to Ashanti Billie. My prayers go out to her family and friends, all those that have been fighting for her in her passing. And it's really a shame that this guy did this. Like I said, hopefully he gets an electric chair. That's what he deserves. But out of a tragedy comes a great thing. And hopefully the Ashanti Alert Act can save another person in the future. So what do you think? Do you think that this law is a good thing to have an adult Amber Alert style system? Because sometimes you have people out there that get abducted and you need to find a way to bring them back home safely. If this were in place when Ashanti went missing, then it wouldn't have been this whole mad dash trying to figure out where is she, where did she go? Maybe she would have been caught right there on the interstate going from Norfolk to Charlotte, which ain't that far. But whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.